We are on the absolute edges of our seats with Montreal on the eve of playing the Washington Capitals and Alex Ovechkin in the playoffs. NHL fans across the world are ready to tune in to what's going to be one of the most intense series with some key X factors from the Montreal Canadiens, making these guys one of the sleeper Cinderella teams for these playoffs. We have to talk about everything that's going to go down. Montreal versus Washington and the huge implications for both of these teams going forward. And we also have some very interesting talk about Montreal's offseason with two recent names from the same team being linked to Montreal once again. Stick around for all that on Habs Digest. Quick reminder, guys, we're pushing for that 25,000 subscribers by free agency. It's a huge goal, I know, but look, if you want to stay up to date on all things Demidov, all things Habs playoffs, it's completely free. Hit the button down below, and we're going to get into this playoff series, Jesse, everyone has been waiting for in just a couple minutes. I want to bring up something first, though. I know. We gotta tease them. You guys stick around if you want to see it, or jump to the timestamp. That's up to you. But I want to start with something very interesting. Now, there was something circulating the other day from Yvon Lambert, who mentioned that when he was talking to Kent Hughes before, Kent Hughes said to him, "Would you go get Sidney Crosby for a year or two?" And Yvon Lambert said, "Yeah, absolutely, go get Crosby." But then Crosby re-signed in Pittsburgh. But Jesse, that just leaves people with that idea that, like, look, more and more talk about Crosby potentially being available out of Pittsburgh. I personally don't think it will happen, but that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of smoke around this. But it's not just Crosby either. Even Demidov said, "I like Malkin much better than Ovechkin." Look, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this here today, Jesse, but the fact that Crosby at one point has been on Kent Hughes' radar, the fact that Evgeni Malkin is one of Demidov's favorite players, it seems, and the Pittsburgh Penguins falling out of the playoffs, not seemingly on the upswing. What do you make of all this? Would you go get one of these two guys this offseason if, by some miracle, they were ever available?
With all the good luck we're having right now, why not? That seems about appropriate right now. I mean, based on what kind of run we're going on here, that's definitely going to help. But I mean, I blame Demidov again, kind of starting this with a little bit of that Malkin talk there. And even though you have to feel that Evgeni Malkin, the Russian bear, is getting a little bit long in the tooth now at 38 years of age, you have to feel like he would still be deadly alongside a young Demidov there. And of course, with the Crosby as well, like, very much more likely that he is staying in Pittsburgh. But if he's going anywhere, he is going to go to the Montreal Canadiens right now. And you have to feel like, it's like so many teams right now are just trying to get younger, like at any cost in the NHL. It is a little bit of a trend that we're seeing. As much as, Crosby is, so important to the city of Pittsburgh, we're seeing teams like, obviously with the Lightning trading Stamkos, things that you didn't see before in the past, where stars, people that they've won with, that the fan base really cares about, that we've seen it happen, right? So I'm not saying particularly it's going to happen in this situation, but it is still a trend in the NHL, Josh, all the same.
It is. That's the thing. It's becoming more and more real, but Crosby does seem like a creature of habit. Don't think it'll happen, but guys, I'm seeing you guys talk about him a ton, and the fact that we're hearing other people say Kent Hughes at one point even had Crosby on his radar. Listen, just leave your thoughts down below on that. Crosby or Malkin, who would you prefer? I think we know the answer, and would you actually do it? And do you think it could even happen? Love to hear your thoughts down below, but Jesse, it's time. Look, we're on the eve. Happy Habs playoff eve for the first time since 2021. The first time in front of a full Bell Center in 8 years. Habs versus Capitals. And I want to lead into this with something that absolutely shocked me. Sportsnet. Well, one thing, we tend to think the Sportsnet talks about the Leafs the most. They tend to praise the Leafs or hate the Leafs more than any other team. Regardless, they cover them the most. You'd think that they'd maybe have a little bias against Montreal, but even Sportsnet, Jesse, 7 of their 18 analysts on their annual playoffs prediction thread said that Montreal was going to beat Washington, every single one of them saying in 7 games, except for Rory Boylan, who said Canadiens in 6, I believe. But unreal stuff, first of all, Jesse, that people are predicting Montreal to beat Washington. This young team with a bunch of young scorers, their talent is incredible, but this is going to be tough. Like, looking through the lines here, I'll toss to you in a second, but like looking through the Habs lines, we have youth up top, right? Suzuki, Caufield, Slafkovsky, Demidov, Newhook, Laine. Laine is the oldest of that entire group at 27 years old. Everyone else is 25 or younger, with that more veteran bottom 6, that third line being one of the best lines in the NHL over the past few months. The decor is a bit of a question mark, but Jesse, looking at Montreal's lines, looking at Washington's lines, and looking at what we are as teams, what would you say is your biggest key or keys for Montreal heading into this series to really get that big-time win against one of the top regular season teams in the league?
I think there's 3 really key things that it's going to come down to in this series, and that's, goaltending first, which, for the Washington Capitals, it's been kind of a strength of theirs all season. But since the Four Nation hasn't been the best, we know they have like a good offense, but then their defense isn't the best, so it means we're going to get their chances. Logan Thompson has been good all year, except since the Four Nations, and he's taken a little bit of a dip, and we've seen that kind of happen with the Capitals as well. But the reason why I'm optimistic in this series, as we're seeing many others from Sportsnet, by the way, I can't believe that.
Insane.
Of all places, like, Josh, what's next to happen, right? Like, Crosby is coming at this point.
Exactly.
It's like we are seeing that Montembeault has been ridiculous since the Four Nations. He's been the opposite of Logan Thomas, where he's been really good. Then you might say, well, you know, like the Capitals have the goal scoring. That's true. But I would counter that with a Cole Caufield, right? Who really wasn't that far behind in Ovechkin either with his 44 goals there. You got to feel like if he's on the first power play, he's probably getting there, if not more, dare I say. Like I said it, right? Like we have that type of firepower. But again, from there, it goes from the goaltending, you know, from there, like special teams are going to be really big though as well. If we can kind of get that unlocked, as we've mentioned. And I feel like we're kind of almost due for that. You know, they've kind of been streaky at times, and we're almost due for that upswing, which for me is kind of hopeful. And then kind of lastly, I think it's really going to come down to Demidov. And by that, I mean depth scoring for the Montreal Canadiens, because let's face it, we know that first line is going to do that job. But if Demidov can really come in on that second line and get a little bit of that depth scoring where we have a top six doing their thing, like I have faith in the bottom six to be able to do their ability. Quite frankly, Josh, I like our D-core over the Washington Capitals. It's like, and the two most key positions, if we're looking at like top line center and we're looking at like top defensemen, I'll take Nick Suzuki and Lane Hudson any day over Ryan Strome and John Carlson. In fact, like the stats will back that up, right? Like, you know, like Strome's got 82 points, 89 points for Suzuki. You know, we got John Carlson, 51 points. We got 66 points for Lane Hudson. So there's really some key matchups, which I'm liking for the Montreal Canadiens going forward. But it's really, you know, those three key factors I think are going to be huge going forward.
And I think you're bang on with a lot of those. Like Montreal, like again, you compare those top talents. Montreal has a lot of the same stuff, right? And look, Ovechkin's obviously insane. He's unbelievable. His goal scoring pace, 44 goals in 65 games, is crazy. And when we look at the depth scoring of Washington, it's still solid. But I mean, when you compare to the top 10 scorers for the Montreal Canadiens, Washington has many more guys above that 40-point mark, that 50-point mark. They were scoring a ton of goals. I mean, we look at this. They had 8 guys above 40 points, 7 guys above 50, whereas Montreal only had 4 guys above 50 points. Slafkovsky with 51 would have been there tied with John Carlson for 7th on Washington. But at the end of the day, I think you're right. Like the D-core makes a big difference here. And I think if Montreal can stop their leaky defense and allowing other teams to get offensive opportunities in tight, we can really outscore a lot of teams. I mean, as much as Montreal gets a reputation, and it is true to some extent, of not taking a lot of shots on goal, our goal per game rate, especially since December when Line A debuted and when we got Carrier, for a stretch has been was in the top of the NHL for about a month, and we're still not near the bottom necessarily in goals per game since then either. Like, we're a team that can score efficiently on not that many shots. So if we can limit the opposing team's chances and we can still play a grindy game, it can work. Now, my big, I wouldn't even say concern, one of the big factors for me is going to be the physicality. And depends when you look at this Washington roster. Ovechkin loves to lay the body. Tom Wilson, need I say more? But even a guy like Pierre-Luc Dubois, even a guy like Ryan Leonard uses his physicality a lot. The rookie has only played 9 regular season games this year, and on defense, they have some guys that can lay the body as well. They have some great offensive talent like Jacob Chikrin with 20 goals. So it depends how Montreal can deal with that. You know, we got Gallagher who's going to be grinding. We know Anderson's going to be physical. We got some defensemen who can lay the body. Even a guy like Struble, Savard. Will we see Xhekaj, right? I think that how Montreal deals with Washington's physicality is going to be massive. But Jesse, I think you made a great point too with special teams. Right now, penalty kill, they're both top 10 teams in the NHL. Washington's 5th, Montreal's 10th. Power play, or Montreal's 9th, I should say. Power play, they're both pretty close to the middle of the pack. Montreal's, I think, 21st. Washington is pretty much dead center. You can see the percentages there. Washington, 23.5 on the power play. Montreal, 20.1. Honestly, very similar. And I think what it'll also come down to is how effective can Montreal's power play be against the top 5 PK. Jesse, we have seen Montreal struggle a lot this season. Look, we could talk about a bunch of things here. Struggle a lot this season against other teams' top ranked penalty kills and even bottom ranked penalty kills for some reason. To me, I think if Montreal can figure out this line A thing, even if we put a guy like Demidov on that first power play, we talked about Demidov and Hudson, seeing that first power play taking the next step, whether it's with Demidov or not, and also seeing our young guys in Demidov and Hudson step up even as rookies without that playoff experience. To me, you get 2 of those 3 things, you are in a very good position to win this series.
For sure. And it's because they're going to be up against a really good PK. You feel like they're going to have to simplify for that reason, really kind of be careful with the puck and take advantage of the chances you get. Kind of 1-2, try to break down the PK down and then let it rip. And so while that is tough, I think that's simplifying the power play for the Montreal Canadiens is exactly what they need to do. I am a big believer that the power play for the Habs can light up at a very important time. Like, I have faith in our specialty teams. We know that the PK can be amazing. It's done so all year. We have keeping Jake Evans around the team to really thank for that. But we got shooters, right? And I think kind of putting Ivan Demidov, he's been putting some practice into that leading up to the playoffs. I think knowing how important that is, I think is just going to be absolutely huge. I still got faith in our boy Line. I got faith in Cole, Nick Suzuki, Demidov, Hudson. We got so many great options besides Slav, who's been so great in front of the net. You have to feel like he's going to shine right now in the playoffs. I cannot wait to see playoff Slav, playoff Hudson, like guys like Caufield, who for me have been also low-key very clutch for this team. We know Nick Suzuki obviously has been amazing, kind of anything kind of overtime, but Caufield as well getting key goals for this team at really big time. So I expect to see some really big time performance. Josh, I am getting so excited. I cannot wait for tomorrow night here.
I can't wait. I every single day. I'm really, there's so much playoff hockey, and the Habs are just not playing yet. Seeing how these boys are going to step up, Suzuki and Caufield with that crazy playoff experience. I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, look, after watching that Winnipeg Jets game and them coming back and Kyle Connor scoring in a tie game late in the third, I mean, is that better or worse than an overtime goal? I don't know. That unexpected element, seeing the Jets fans react to that, knowing that Montreal fans are on the precipice of reacting in that exact same way with this team, just gets me excited. I know it gets you excited. Let us know your main thoughts on Habs versus Capitals. Who's going to win? Jesse, any final thoughts? I'm saying Habs in 7. What are you saying?
I think 7 is okay. It might take a while. I'd prefer 6. I think this team would too, but they know that they're going to be in it. They'll take it one game at a time, but they're believing, right? Why not us? Why not now? Great mentality going into this series.
Let's do a why not us? Why not now? Habs in 7. Leave your predictions down below because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all so much for supporting. Cannot wait to talk to you all tomorrow night. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.